There we go. Let me just adjust my chair a little bit. Another episode of Tate's Take. Geez, what episode are we on now? Number 96, I believe it is, of what you're watching, Tate's Take. As you know, we like to call it the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. None other than Tate's Take, where you know basketball lives. Follow along on all social media platforms at Tate's Take Hoops. TateStakeHoops. I got one of my very interesting, entertaining. I made a joke earlier, somewhat half jokingly on social media, and said the strongly opinionated guest of mine is going to be joining us. He's currently in the back room, in the green room rather, finishing setting up a couple things, but just kind of want to let people know where we're going on today. Trying to figure out where in the world Ben Simmons is finally going to land, so that should be interesting enough. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the newly updated rosters for some of the contending teams, probably the front-running contending teams in the NBA. That being the Brooklyn Nets, also that being the Los Angeles Lakers. Surprise, I guess, right? And amongst a few other things. So we've also got some uh, really intriguing names in terms of some Hall of Fame inductees, some guys that's personal, kind of close to my heart a little bit, and a couple guys that I had an opportunity to interview. Great guys, and I want to get some opinions on some of these guys. Without further ado, I'm gonna bring in that strongly opinionated gentleman, if I can, real quick. Let's see if I can get him back here. Let's see where we're going with this. I'm gonna wait for him to come back into the shot before I introduce him. But with that being said, well, as I wait on him, those two inductees, okay, that being Chris Webber, that being uh, Chris Bosh, the two Chris's, I guess, if you will. Interestingly enough, and I'm happy to see that these guys are getting their flowers, getting the respect where it's due. Two really, really hard workers, two power forwards, by the way. That always kind of makes things a little bit more on the interesting side. I think looking at these two guys, who one of them just the fantastic ball handler that he was, and the other one just a workhorse and a really big part of the big three that we saw at one point in time. Let's get ready to bring in. There he is. There go my dude right there, man. My guest for the evening. That would be none other than my dude, Timeless Wonder. We're gonna put it right there in the event. I'm gonna let that take the people's brains and minds wherever that it may go. Podcast host of the Sports City Chefs podcast. Catch him on Twitter at Sports City Chefs. My dude, my dude, Time, man. What's good? What's good, yo? From your neck of the woods in Connecticut. What's good, yo?
Doing as much as I possibly can and having to deal with this guy every single day, arguing every sport there is possible. And I'm not too appreciative with that MSU stuff behind him, but we got to make do with what we got to make do. So that's my little brother, regardless of the situation. And we can talk a little round ball like we usually do around this time.
No doubt, no doubt. So just a little bit of a backstory before we dive in. I had an opportunity over the course of the last probably almost going on a year now, certainly within the last 8 or 9 months, to develop a relationship with this really good brother, man, and get into some college basketball stuff. We did a little bit of that on the Clubhouse app, and I just want to be able to first, before we dive in, to give you your flowers and commend you for the job that you have done, all seriousness, man, with the barbershop on the Clubhouse app and Sports City Chefs. As I've been a guest on there multiple times, and so I want to make sure that I give you do my due diligence on that. Giving you, showing you the appreciation that I have for your hard work ethic and just being able to put different, very, I guess the best way to put it is intriguing conversations on that barbershop platform on the Clubhouse app. So I do appreciate it.
Don't let him oversell the situation. He comes in with his punches too. Don't he sets it up well and makes sure he rolls it off of my shoulders, people. So people, I want you to understand, it's not just me being very opinionated. I have a brother, last name Tate, that'll come in here and stir it up and be like, Tom, I'm gonna just let you carry the rest of it out. And I'm like, really? like this. So now I gotta, this is the little brother that get you into stuff, and you be like, we got to go down together. So this is what happens. But I'm thankful that I bumped into this guy somehow, some way. I do got a lot of love in Michigan, and we have a intriguing relationship that he's actually a Detroit guy. Likes the Lions too. That's my diehard team, so I go to war with them. So that's something that kind of reeled me into him. But then everything outside of that, I grit my teeth. I go to sleep with my fist balled up when I think of Tate. So that's what I have going on with him. But other than that, like we in the barbershop, from any conversation, top to bottom, uncomfortable conversation, any sport you could think of, or any tension situation, we're trying to cover to calm these things down, and that's what I'm all about, man. I'm a people person. That's one thing my college professor told me, and I'm going to continue to carry that out throughout the remainder of my life. So, and it definitely carries into my sport conversations. So this is what you got for the next couple of minutes while we are here going to war.
Fist balled up and pissed off at D Tate, man. Sounds like you and my mama got something in common. Let's jump into a little bit of this conversation about Ben Simmons, because I think if there's anything that has been surrounding the league outside of the recent moves that the Lakers and Nets have made, which we'll get into here in just a second, that has kind of been the talk of the town. That's been the elephant in the room as of late. Um, I want to know from you, where do you expect him to land? Does he stay in Philly? If he stays in Philly, does he get to a point where you might see him in training camp and things like that and participating with the team? I don't think it's much of a secret that he wants to be out of the city of brotherly love. But where do you see him landing, and how long do you think that it'll be before we see something like that?
The two teams that were mentioned are the Sacramento Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Um, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm glad that I'm here with you. I wouldn't even blame Philadelphia for doing that, and rightfully so. For this guy to go to sleep and get what he wants for all of the money they threw into him, and for him to be an all-star considered player and not play up to his expectancy and then leave because they're questioning him when he should have been able to play a great game or a great series, however we look at it, and just play smaller than what he is, for him to be over 6'10" or 6'10", however we look at that, is unacceptable for him to receive that type of money. So, like I'm saying, I'm thinking more than likely, like they said, either because he wants the California team, Sacramento's probably the more feasible one, or Minnesota, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they could have an interesting nucleus with him, Cat, depending on what pieces they could keep there. That'd be interesting. But I know that he wants to go to like Golden State. That'd be a team that he's trying to jump at, and that would give them strong consideration to be a threat out west and try to contend for the Western Conference Final, things like that. But I don't think Philadelphia should feed the rest of the NBA and make it look better for them when they were a number one seed in the Eastern Conference with him, and they end up falling short because of him. Like I wouldn't condone that at all. I don't like it. That's just me personally.
What kind of concerns do you have about Philly, who may be able to draw interest from some buyers, but appearing that they are asking a little bit too much? That asking price of what they want. I mean, I feel like at one point in time, and I might be slightly facetious on this, but I feel like I heard, well, we want this all-star, we want this all-star, and we want this many picks, and we want this amount of money, and these role players. It's like, yo, slow down. You're not getting all of that from. I feel like the how unrealistic that is starting to settle in a little bit more for Philadelphia. What do you think that they realistically can get and should get, in your personal opinion, for a player like a Ben Simmons, considering all the things that he does bring to the table, great defensively amongst all those other things, and a really good player and passer and everything else. But in that same token, a guy who doesn't shoot the ball. How realistic is it that you believe that they are coming to realization of what they're going to be able to get from him, and how big of a concern it is that he's not shooting the ball at all?
He's an all-star. I would want something close to, or to give considerable pieces that can actually patch up the hole that we're going to lose here. Either a dead arm shooter that we can have at the three, or a considerable amount of money that they're going to be trying to ask for, or we're going to hurt the team just as much as it's going to hurt us. That's the only way I can look at it. I'm not looking at Ben Simmons any other way, the way that he's supposed to be the process. They sat there and told the city of Philadelphia to be patient with us. We're going to lose games and we're going to be better in the future. They got better in the future. They were a number one seed in the East where nobody's seen this coming. And they fell short on a team that I feel they were better than the Atlanta Hawks. And they didn't show it. And his defense is an issue because he plays great defense. So we're losing a hole on the side of the ball that should be everybody in the league's problem because nobody in the NBA plays defense anymore. You don't have any studs on the defensive side of the ball, and he's actually good at that. So we need somebody that can play defense. We need another shooter to go alongside Seth Curry if this all stays conducted the same, and or somebody that can distribute and run the break as best as he can too, because that is one thing that he is savvy to get up and down the floor, but now he's scared to score the ball, whether it's shooting or finishing at the rim. He did a spin move on Gallinari and didn't want to dunk when Trae Young was there. It's like, wait, hold on. Trae Young is like 6'1", 6'2". Like, you're 6'10", man. I wish God would have gave me 10 more inches to play a basketball game. I'm dunking every time we go up and down the court.
Yes, you just as we switch it up a little bit, have a conversation about two guys both got some things in common. Two guys both named Chris. Two guys both played the power forward position and inductees, obviously, together in the Hall of Fame this coming year. Just want to pick your brain a little bit about some of your, whether it be most memorable moments, or I know that you're in the thick of things a lot of times, bumping into different athletes and so forth. Maybe you come across these guys, know what kind of guys that these guys are. Just speaking from a fan perspective, in regards to what you've seen them do on the floor and over the course of their careers, because I believe that they're two guys that are entering the Hall of Fame. You got your guys that typically are going to be Hall of Famers. You know what you think about them. But then these other guys that I feel like they're kind of grouped with kind of like second tier somewhat, if there's a such thing, that has had a big impact on this game. For me personally, just meeting Chris Bosh and having the opportunity to kind of pick his brain, talk to him a little bit, and his role that he played within the Big Three, being a really fantastic and just outstanding personality, the whole nine, obviously basketball player. And then when you start talking about, yes, I get it, Fab Five, and I'm a Sparty guy and everything else, but Chris Webber, when you start talking about some of the best passers as a front court player in the NBA and just how dominant he was in high school, college, all the way through. Doesn't really need to be said. Transcended the game, obviously, from a fashion standpoint with the Fab Five too. What are some of your biggest takeaways between the two Chris's?
I'll save the best Chris for last. So Chris Bosh, interesting enough, I followed him since he got into Atlanta, Georgia, where this guy is right now. He was impressive when he came into the school and could shoot the ball. And when he was in college, he was a great finisher, could finish at the rim. And I can't take that away from him, what he did in the league, especially once he went to Toronto. And it's tough, being a part of the Raptors because you not only have that city or that province, but you have a whole country to carry. And this was after the fact that Vince Carter had left and also Tracy McGrady had left. So he's having to carry this team as best as possible while they're trying to rebuild, and he is the guy. And I think what actually made people feel a little bit bitter about his play was he left that country. He left that province. He left that city and went to go with not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, or not seven. He went with LeBron, and everybody got mad because they're building a powerhouse or monster team, however you look at it, and he was actually successful. The first run, they fell short and lost to Dallas. They were at the pinnacle, and then they come back around. Now I have to pick a side because I am a diehard Thunder fan. So I followed as much as I could with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh as well, and I had to pick a side. I had to go with my Thunder. They took my boys out, and that was the first run that they got a championship. So he was successful in doing that. They went back-to-back up against another foe and rival of mine, up against the San Antonio Spurs, and they actually got the edge on the Spurs, saved by a Ray Allen three to push the series further, and he got his second ring. So for him to get two rings while making that run, he's 50% being down there in Miami with LeBron. So it's not that bad. Even though they did lose two, they lost that year coming back around up against San Antonio in the rematch, kind of like next Friday. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie, but if you have, you'll think about Sticky Fingers when he says the rematch. So they got that, and Tim Duncan and the boys got their fifth, and that kind of corralled the situation on their last and latest championship. And then Chris Bosh is trying to do the best that he can to go back into the next couple of seasons, and then unfortunately health matters stopped him, and it's unfortunate that he had to deal with the blood clot issue, and doctors not advising him to play ball, and it's tough that this guy had done well since coming out of Georgia Tech, making a name for himself in a whole country, to now coming to the United States and having to do it down in South Beach, and he actually had to play the villain role even more, while Toronto was looking at him as a villain and being successful in doing that. And a lot of people in South Beach know him and recognize him, where while the rest of the country or the world or NBA world didn't like the fact that he may have made the move or not. So I got to bring him his flowers. Now, the best Chris in this situation is Christopher Webber, aka Macy, if you don't know his real first name. So this guy is one of the guys. Okay, so I played power forward majority of my life. So I built my game around LJ's spin. I love Larry Johnson's spin, or trying to finish around. I couldn't dunk like them. So it was like, Sean Kemp or Larry Johnson or Rasheed Wallace. But Christopher Webber's spin was just as strong as Larry Johnson. So I would try to do that as best as I could. And they made a rule for Christopher Webber. People don't know that. The arm pin, that pin, when he does a spin, they had to make that a rule because they couldn't stop C-Web from doing that spin and keeping you behind him. So you had to do your
So what
best.
do you mean? So you talking about like a hook
The,
essentially,
the
or
whole
you talking about
arm, the
something
whole
different?
arm, the elbow hook, you can do if you do it without winging it as far as possible. But Webber used the whole arm and pin that guy behind him. They stopped that. You can't
And
do that.
pin. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So once Webb was doing that and killing them, especially in college when they weren't calling it, Webb, his hands, he probably had some of the softest hands. He could catch everything. Dewan didn't have to worry about him being the center. It was him doing dirty work. Part of the Fab Five, the Super Softs, broad baggy shorts. Thank the world that they did that, because we'd have probably been wearing coochie cutters for the rest of our life. Black socks, black shoes. They brought that culture to basketball that we needed to see. And it was so fun in the early 90s to watch them play ball. And who really watched Michigan basketball other than like the Glenn Rice years or Ramil Robinson? Like, I'm digging. Like I'm showing you the historian in me and the basketball that I watched. But we were watching that. We would go outside to try to practice it. And who wanted to be Jalen? Who wanted to be Ray Jackson? And I'm like, I'm Webb. Like, I got it. And then once he got to the league, he got to the Bullets, and he's fighting injuries and dealing with his back and shoulders and things like that. And it didn't last too long in DC. Then once he went to Sacramento, this is when he made his name. And this was when the Western Conference was wild. And he's watching him and Tim Duncan and Rasheed Wallace and Dirk Nowitzki. Every pop forward you could name was in the Western Conference. So every game Webber played was one of those meaningful games, and it was a show, especially with whether he had Bibby or Jay Will and his dead arm shooter and Pager. It was just phenomenal to see. And it's like, if you load up on any of these guys, Webb could just step off the paint if he wanted to and hit a jumper shot, or if he's in the paint, you're scared because he's going to do that spin and get to the rim and finish. And the only one that was stopping him at that point was Shaquille O'Neal. Like, he couldn't get through Shaq. So Webb did as much as he could in the Western Conference, got to the Eastern Conference, and that was the end of his career when he went to Philly and Detroit to, like, be in the graveyard of the NBA. So it's unfortunate that happened to Webb, and he waited this long to get to the Hall of Fame. And I'm glad for him, and I'm mad that there's other people that went before him. But this guy is a piece, a pillar of the NBA pioneer. Like, there's a lot along with Webb, but all of the scrutiny that behind him. I mean, we're human, man. People deserve second chances, so I can't wait till he explains the story.
One of the hardest dunkers too, I think I might add, that I've ever come across and watching basketball over the course of the last 27 years. And the other, obviously, and Chris Bosh, just relentless work ethic amongst other things. Let me find out my boy Tymeless Wonder still playing hoops at power forward. He might have to invite me out to one of his favorite destinations in Las Vegas so that we can get down on the hardwood and lace him up, man. Timeless Wonder podcast host, as you have him here with me for episode number 96, Timeless Wonder podcast host from the Sports City Chefs podcast. Y'all go and check that out. Follow him on Twitter at Sports City Chefs. That's at Sports City Chefs. Real quick, as we get ready to transition, I appreciate you for your patience too, Time, because I know you're here for only a limited time. Um, Let me ask you this in regards to some of these things as well. We just seen some new guys finding new homes. Got a little bit of a typo there in Ramon Rondo, but Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, Paul Millsap, Marcus Aldridge, DeAndre Jordan, all guys that are finding new homes. Again, some of them for the second or third time, I guess, if you will. Just give me your takeaway from these two franchises that are obviously the front runners to battle for an NBA championship. Do you think that we will see those two meet up? I know that that's everybody's go-to is to look forward to that, and through a simulator, kind of seeing those two meet up. Is that something that you expect we'll see, that we will see? How disappointing would it be if we don't see it? Who could be standing in the way realistically from either one of those two teams meeting up? And just overall, what you think about the combination of those players that are now going to be added to the. I don't think there's any more room on the roster for anybody else, for crying out loud. What's your take?
So this is interesting because I don't want to hold their feet to the fire because we all get let down. And that's the one thing that I was taught in the year 2000. It's tough to put confidence in the princes or people. And knowing that we would want to see the Lakers Nets go at it because we just want the dynamic of seeing Kevin Durant and LeBron James go at it is not a guarantee. And I don't want to get our hopes all high. We get to April and like, oh, it's on. And then somebody starts struggling in the second round. Oh, it's a 3-3 series. They're going to play a game 7. And then it's a game-winning shot. Like, oh, LeBron and them lost. No, because you're not going to get the answer y'all want. Y'all want me to say KD and them lost. No, LeBron and them, they all over 37 years old, too. So that's a crazy situation, too. So, but you got Dwight Howard going back to LA for the third time. They like that's mind-boggling that LA turn their back on him and bring him back, turn their back on him and bring him back. So it's interesting to see him do that and be a piece as another dynamic big once again. You got Rajon Rondo, as dynamic as he is as a guard that plays good on the ball defense. He runs the break well. He sets guys up. But that's an interesting thing with Rajon Rondo. Now, the one thing that really does bother me out of a lot of these moves is DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan can't find himself at all on any floor, whether it was in LA with the Clippers or whether going to Brooklyn. He's around strong players and can't make it happen. And people say he's a rim protector, but I see a lot of people challenging him in the paint. And he has not gotten better, and he's getting older. So that's one thing that I'm like scratching my head on how he's going to make this work and fight for time, while it's at least him and Dwight at this point in time waiting for how this is going to work out
Pun
dynamically.
intended. Pun intended. Pun intended with the time, by the way.
Right. Oh, allow me to reintroduce myself. They call me Tymeless. But and they got Marc Gasol there too. And Marc Gasol's a good on the ball defender, playing the 5 too. So they're gonna have to like piece together this, wheel if they can. And I don't know if DeAndre Jordan's gonna see that much time. I don't, because he's just a dunker at this point in time. He's not somebody I'm considering a strong field to be on the Lakers. I think he's ring chasing at this point. Now, the one that is near and dear to my heart to me, and the one that I wanted to see work out last season, was LaMarcus Aldridge. And the one thing about LaMarcus Aldridge is he's a great post player. He plays the 4, that spot I love. He has a similar game to Rasheed Wallace when he could turn over the shoulder and hit the jump shot fade away, and that's money. Like, I love that. But what crushed me was just like what we were talking about just a segment ago on Chris Bosh's situation with the health. And the doctors advised him that he had an irregular heartbeat, and they said he can't play basketball anymore. It ripped my heart out of my chest. I'm like, Brooklyn needs to win. I don't want to see him, not get a championship, or at least fight to get one. Just win one so he can just get one because he was a part of the team. They lost. I'm like, that's just a horrible end of the story. It feel like Hoosiers or something. Like, you want it, and then next thing you know, they're like, well, he's back. The doctor said he's okay to play. So I'm like, all right. So now Brooklyn got another shot to get there. So I feel like if Brooklyn can get another piece, whether it's a guard or a dead arm shooter to help them, then I feel like they can get back into it. I don't feel like they have enough pieces to get to the Eastern Conference Final or the Finals. Well, the Eastern Conference Finals, I feel like they can get there. The Finals, I don't know. Now they have issues now in front of them because the East just got stronger now. But just to see LaMarcus Aldridge out there to play and be another piece, and I feel, to me, I may make people angry right now, he's better than Blake Griffin, especially when Blake Griffin was playing defense. That's incredible that he was out there on the floor and letting Giannis get to the rim. At least somebody could at least try to help stop Giannis and company or whatever big that they're defending. And hopefully Brooklyn could make it there and make it a final that we all want to see, New York versus LA, or AKA Brooklyn or Brooknom versus Hollywood.
This being my last piece for you, so we play a little game here on our on this show, okay? And it is typically in most cases, okay, it's called quick release. So I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. I know we only got a couple minutes, so let's just say 2-3 minutes. I appreciate you for your patience, okay? Um, Make sure we're paying the bills first and foremost. So make sure you know that it's sponsored and powered by Exotics by Curtis Smith. Look good, feel good, play great. Exoticsproducts.com. Give your body and your skin what it deserves. All 110% all natural products. No chemicals added. Just go to Exotics Products. You see it there on the ticker at the bottom and all that it offers as well. Exoticsproducts.com. And when you're at the checkout, make sure that you hit that discount code Tate, get yourself 15% off. All right, so here's my 3 questions that I have for you. Time for this particular segment before we get up out of here. First and foremost, the rookie or rookies that you're most excited to see this upcoming NBA season. Again, I'll let you think about it for a quick second. The rookie or rookies that you're most excited to see this upcoming NBA season.
Jalen Green for sure because he's scoring very easy. Like just
Mhm.
like being warned about it in the barbershop, but not really getting to see too much of him in the last season, and just watching him go to war in the summer league and seeing it up close when I was in Vegas and watching him just put up 20 and a half. I'm like, this is nuts. Like this is crazy. So like if this is the preview, it's like picture when the
Yeah.
lights are on and he got to go to war, or when it's like a tie game in the third and they got to close the team out. Like if he could put up them shots like that and be butter all day long, like it's gonna be a problem. He's one. Just because I'm here in Tate's take right now, I gotta say Cade Cunningham. And the reason why is
Okay.
because I just said it a little while ago. Detroit is the graveyard right now for basketball players. And I can't watch this happen any longer. As much as I despise the Detroit Pistons, especially when they were the bad boys back in the 90s, beating people up, and Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn being the beasts that they were and knocking dudes out and beating dudes around. You couldn't come in the paint. It's like, what? Heck yeah. So now it's like, I love to see the Pistons down and out now. So it's like, no, I can't see that. They got to be competitive. You can't just have teams walking the new arena that they have and they're just losing on a new arena now. There's no more Palace anymore. So you got to see that happen for Cade Cunningham. At least those are the two that I could initially think of. Mobley is another one. He's a big that could score, finish at the rim well, protect the rim also. So that's another one too. I'm being biased at what I want to say right now. I don't think he will make the roster, but Mac McClung being out of Georgetown and going to Texas Tech, and the crazy part about it was I didn't think he was ready for the league, and he ends up going to the Lakers, and now they got a bunch of guards if he ends up making the roster. So I think he'll probably be on their G League team, but I don't know if he'll end up making that roster, especially with Russ and Rondo. I don't think he changes pace comparison to them, or is going to be able to defend any of these monster point guards in the Western Conference because Steph Curry and them will beat him up real bad. So is one thing I do want to see how he can actually prove people wrong like myself and show that he can play ball to be there. But that's the rookies that I'm thinking of.
If I'm Mac McClung, I'm doing nothing but watching a whole bunch of Alex Caruso highlight tapes, if you will, because sending him off to Chicago, that might be the next role and the best role. I think he would fit very good in that. Surprise team or teams, let's just say one from each conference in the NBA this year. So very similar to how we saw the Hawks make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Somebody that you can see doing something similar to that. I think Denver did it the year before in the West. Who do you pick one team from the East and the West that maybe nobody's talking about, but that you could see maybe making a run, maybe not to eat, but just certainly knocking off a big dog or maybe even getting to the conference finals?
I'm a chef, so I cook. So this dish is here for you and yours out there. This is going to be a dish served cold, and it's called Luka Doncic. I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks, and here's why.
Okay.
If he's not successful to get out of the first round, the questions that loomed around LeBron to get championship value, the questions are going to be around Luka to get out of the first round like they chased Tracy McGrady for years. They can't let him just be a wonder boy or a darling. Oh, my goodness, he's doing good plays in the regular season. You're going to end up looking like Peyton Manning of the first round, and I'm holding your feet to the fire on that.
Okay.
Surprise team right now in the Eastern Conference, I got to go with Philly right now. Philadelphia being a number one team in the Eastern Conference, they lose Ben Simmons. I think they'll fall. If they are able to hang on to a top 4 seed in the East, I feel like that's a plus. and I still feel they have value to at least get home court advantage and still win a series or two if they can get Ben Embiid, Joel Embiid, excuse me, to play good basketball. I'm mixing the two of them, and I apologize. But if they can get Joel Embiid to play good basketball, not get tired, and get him those valuable minutes in the fourth quarter, where he should be able to get some people in foul trouble, i.e., like the old Shaquille O'Neal days, this could work out for Philly if they do this well. And oh yes, just like I picked on Luka, Doc Rivers, you're another dish served cold. If you can't get to a final without Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, and Ray Allen, you are held to the fire too. So those are the two.
I told you, y'all gonna love this dude's wordplay. Last two questions for you. We're gonna play a little bit of fill in the blank. Don't be surprised if Ben Simmons lands with this particular team. Again, don't be surprised if Ben Simmons lands with this particular team. What team is that? What's the
The
one
Shanghai
nobody's
Sharks.
talking about?
The Shanghai Sharks.
Come on, Ty. Come on,
And he
come
laughed with
on,
his
Ty.
shoulders, people. People, I made him laugh with his shoulders, open mouth, glee, everything. He looked like Charlie Brown laughing. You gotta watch the Peanuts game. No, that's a good one. Maybe like the Boston Celtics. I'm to be surprised. I don't know. I think they're still trying to fill the voids of everything going on there, and they're talking about potentially moving Jaylen Brown if it doesn't really work out with Tatum, because Tatum is the guy that they got to build around right now. If they get rid of a guy like him, that would be interesting to see Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons. I feel like that could be a storm of a trade. You heard it here first, so give me credit if that does happen. Or if he stays put in Philadelphia, like if Philly don't even move him and just keeps him right there in Pennsylvania, I'd be surprised. I would.
All
Or
right, last but certainly not least, blank might surprise everyone else on the next level, but not me. And when I say on the next level, let's just say, give me a team, give me a player, anything NBA, you name it, when it comes to the NBA this upcoming season, anything you want. Blank might surprise everyone else, but they won't surprise Timeless Wonder this year.
the New York Knicks may surprise everyone else, but not me. I'm so tired of hearing this and going crazy and the way that it looked this March. Oh, we're in fourth place and we're gonna do this. They dancing in Manhattan, and then the crazy part is I was sitting in a hotel at this time, so I'm literally watching it happen outside my hotel window. Like they are really serious. Like you show me when you guys could get to an Eastern Conference final without Pat. So if that happens and the Knicks can get to an Eastern Conference final and put humble pie in my lap, then okay, I'll have to eat it. So shout out to everybody here at Tate's Take again. Check me out at sportcitychefs.com and also PGF podcast. Check me out. I'm everywhere, and the barbershop is home for me everywhere. I'm a Wakandan, so check me out. Oh, in the Thano shirt with the Rick Ross. Gotta do that for sure.
Respected. Let the folks know where when you air Sports City Chefs.
Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard is the Callers Cookout. Everything under the sun at the cookout. You call in, we talk about every topic that you may bring. If not, I'm just gonna have to cook and put out some marvelous dishes. So right now I served you salad with the Ben Simmons situation and Luca and the Sixers and things like that. But I cook well, so come and check me out.
Man, appreciate my dude time, man. And listen, I think that's for that particular part. As we get ready to wrap up here, that's going to do it for um our um quick release segment, of course, sponsored by Exotics, powered by Exotics by Curtis Smith. Look good, feel good, play great. Give your skin what it deserves, what it needs, finally, right? All 110% all natural products, zero chemicals added. Exoticsproducts.com. In the checkout, go to the discount code, put in Tate's Take. You see it there at the bottom on the ticker. Get your 15% off. That's my dude, man. And listen, I do appreciate you for coming through in episode number 96. Timeless Wonder podcast host for the Sports City Chef podcast. Find them on Twitter at Sports City Chefs. Time, we're going to wrap. More than likely, it's going to be probably later on this evening. I know you got NFL fantasy drafts and all types of stuff going on. Y'all make sure that y'all go give my dude a follow, and I appreciate you for coming on the program, my brother.
He knows how busy I am, man, my little brother, for real. But I don't care what you guys say. he's talking basketball. He's been talking junk to me about the Michigan State guys up there, and we got to take them out pretty soon. That's why he's cheesing like first grade picture day, y'all. But I got you all day. You family love you like cook food, man.
I love you too, brother. I'll check you out later on this evening.
All right.
That's my dude, man. My dude, Ty Powell. That's where we gonna go with it. But I know the man as Timeless Wonder. I like that name a little bit more. Appreciate everybody for checking us out. Episode number 96. Picking some brains a little bit. Got some more interesting stuff that's gonna be coming up. Remember, we stream live on Facebook as well as on YouTube as well. Also, check us out on Periscope as well. Another big piece of some things that we put together here on Tate's Take. Also, we've extended our reach a little bit. You can check us out on Spreaker. Also on the Flow Television. Check out the Flow Television at the Flow Television as well. Roku TV, Fire TV, Apple TV, the whole nine. We got the Fire Stick. No excuses to where you can't find the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and of course, the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast that's none other than Tate's Take. So tell your mama, tell your grandmama, tell your baby mama where they can find that at, anywhere you find your favorite podcast, and follow along on all social media platforms at Tate's Take Hoops, TATES, where basketball lives. I'll see you guys on the next one for episode number 97. Bye.